Hey, whoops. Hey, everybody, wrong camera, right show. I'm Andrew Woodward, and welcome to the Indoor Growing and Hydroponics Show. The reason I'm holding this microphone right now is that I'm having a little bit of trouble with my wireless mic, and also I just love huge microphones. So here you have it, a huge microphone for tonight's show. All right, so if you have been joining us for the last, try to make this big microphone work for me here. All right, there we go. Get a nice pose and let's continue. So if you've been watching the show for the last couple of weeks, you've seen a variety of different parts and stuff that I've kind of put out there as the equipment and parts and bits and pieces that I've used through the years to build hydroponic and aeroponic systems. First, it was just for me at home, and then later I decided to actually make a business out of it. And what I'm doing now is kind of sharing the tools, tips, and techniques that I've learned through the years, passing it on to other people and customers of the company and non-customers, everybody, whoever wants to learn about indoor growing. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at high pressure hydroponics, which is by request. Some of the viewers of the show said, hey, what's that thing behind you? I usually have a unit. Actually, it's usually right here. It's actually running at the moment over behind me here. We're going to take a look at that tonight, but that's a high pressure aeroponic system that I built as more or less well, I'm not sure what to really call it other than a test bed or a testing platform for aeroponics. It's built to be taken apart, put back together, have parts easy to swap. So it's not the sort of thing that I would sell to anybody. It's more a device that I use here for testing. But just so you know, I do have something I'm really excited about that I'm going to show you tonight that's finally due for release. It's a product. It's actually based on the research that I did with the hydroponics, the high pressure hydroponic system, the aeroponic system, excuse me. And it's a scaled down version and it's low pressure. So we're going to look at some high pressure and some low pressure aeroponics tonight. And I'll just talk about some of the benefits and disadvantages of both, and you can decide for yourselves what's worth it, what's not worth it, and where to go from there. So just to get things started, I'm going to get the chat going. And listen, if you want to ask any questions tonight, please do. Now I'm going to be demonstrating some stuff, so I won't be I won't be in front of the computer the entire time, but I'll get back to it at some point. And if there are questions ready to go, I'm going to review them, and then we can go over some stuff. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is show you this high pressure system and give you a bit of a tour of the system. I'm going to take this microphone with me, which is going to be a bit weird. Try to make it as not weird as possible. It's already weird. I'm all tangled up. All right, give me a moment. Okay. All right. Let's try that again. Let's try that. Uh-oh. Let's try that again. I'm going to switch the camera over here, and I'm going to rotate my light. Yeah, it's hard for me to describe exactly what I'm doing here, but the entire studio is getting transformed as we speak. And now I'm going to go take my place over here. Oh, I'm going to turn the monitor so I can see what the heck is going on. All right. How's that? All right. That's not bad. Okay, I think this is going to work. Whoops, whoa. I almost had a bad accident there, but we're going to try to, where's the camera? Oh, it's right there, sorry. Hello. We're going to try to make this work. Okay, I'm not used to this camera setup. This is very strange, but I'm going to give you a tour of this. Now, let's see, what can you see from there? You know what, I'm just going to take the camera, and I'm going to bring you over here, and I'm just going to show you. So give me 1 second. Okay, that may have been more like treacherous. Oh my God. All right, everybody, bear with me here. I'm trying to get this done for you. Okay, so this is a high pressure aeroponics system. And on this platform that I build literally out of PVC tubing and bits and pieces, there is every component that you will find on any high pressure or low pressure aeroponic system, but a high pressure aeroponic system has a few additional parts, well, several additional parts above and beyond what a low pressure system has. And we'll talk about those. So first thing I want to show you is that at the heart and soul of a high pressure system is an air pump. That's the silver thing you see in the back there. That's an air pump just like you would use to power a paint sprayer, or to power anything, an air tool, or anything at all that's powered with an air compressor. It's the same exact type of compressor. This one that I was using for testing is a rather powerful one with a very high air output. You actually don't need this kind of output for a high pressure aeroponic system, because you don't need air all the time. You only need it for a few seconds every once in a while, right? Periodically. So this was just because I was using this to test. It's a little bit loud for indoor use. I could even turn it on let me turn it on. I'll give you a demonstration just how loud it is. And this is the quietest of the quiet when it comes to air pumps. Check this out. All right. So yeah, I mean, obviously on camera, it's going to sound super duper loud, but actually it's the quietest one available. Now, you wouldn't want to use something like that in your house, I'm pretty sure, unless you had a separate space or a shed or a greenhouse or something like that where it didn't really matter. But I have something else I'm going to tell you about that I'm really excited about, that we're going to be building together, and it makes the pump part completely silent, if you can believe that, because the design that you and I are going to build together is using a refrigerator compressor, as the air source. And a refrigerator pump obviously is very quiet, and you can tell because I've never heard anybody complain about how loud a refrigerator compressor is. They're very quiet. They're very slow. A refrigerator compressor is very slow to fill up an air tank, but it doesn't matter because, again, we're only running it for a few moments every once in a while. So that's what I have to say about air pumps, but we're going to go over that and talk about how much pressure you need and all that sort of stuff. But I have this one regulated at normally it's about 40 PSI for the sprayer that I'm going to show you today. Because I put this together for the show, I bypassed the regulator. I'm just shooting full pressure right now. It's a little crazy, but we're going to just use it at full pressure. And it'll demonstrate the point just fine. So that's the air pump. And as you can see, what I did was I just built using a regulator, this assembly here, which is available on Amazon. It's just an air compressor regulator, that little boxy thing in the middle. And that is what contains the shutoff portion, which continually monitors the air pressure in the air tank. And when it reaches a certain pressure, shuts it off to keep the tank safe and you safe and the compressor safe and all of that. So it's just an automatic regulation device that turns it off. And it has an air line coming out of it, which is where the air that's going to be sent to the tank, to the storage tank, is here. Let's see if I can follow this path here. So it comes out of the regulator. You see, whoops, comes out of that lighter blue color tubing there, and then comes up here, travels up this tube, over, there's a junction there, don't worry about that, goes over and into this air tank made out of PVC tubing. Now, let me say this about making air tanks out of PVC tubing. Don't do it. I have had these tanks go wrong on me before, and you would swear a bomb just went off in your house. It's crazy. But for my purposes, it works fine. I'm keeping this at fairly low pressure. The bomb incident I'm talking about was under a circumstance where I was running it at very, very high pressure with a broken regulator. So that's a whole different story. But we're gonna be using an actual metal air storage tank. They're not very expensive for our project, and not PVC, so don't worry about that. But what the PVC is good for, I will say, these narrower tubes here are great for attaching things to. If you just want to build a frame, just a frame to hold everything, right? And then it can even have wheels on it, like I do here. It just rolls around. I got those from Harbor Freight, those wheels, and I got the metal axle from Home Depot, and the little bits and pieces on Amazon, and then the PVC tubing is all from either Lowe's or Home Depot. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. I'm just mentioning that because they're easy to find. You can find these parts at any box store is what I'm trying to say. So also something that I do with all these systems is I put a lot of safety into it. So there's a fuse box here with a circuit breaker and all that good stuff, just to keep everybody safe, because this, although all of the components here are 12 volt, the system itself is plugged into, well, not all the components. The air pump is 120 volts, but the other components, the pumps, the small water pumps and valves and controllers and timers and all that stuff, that's all 12 volts. But the unit that gives it the 12 volts, that silver thing right there in the middle with the holes in it, that's the power supply, and that's plugged into the wall. It will give you 12 volts out of it, but it's 120 volts running into it. So you do want to pay attention to working some safety devices in any system that you have. Okay, but let's review. We have an air pump. We have an air pump regulator device, something to regulate the air going into the air storage tank, which in our case is made out of PVC, shouldn't be made out of PVC, should be made out of metal, but serves the same purpose. And that's another component. And then we have a valve. This is a 12 volt air valve. And what the timer does for the cycling is when the timer cycle is ready to dispense nutrient solution, two things happen. A water pump turns on to supply the water to the spray head, and this valve opens up to let out the air from the air tank. Both the air and the nutrient solution then follow up two separate tubes up to the spray head. The spray head, as I've mentioned in a previous video, looks a heck of a lot like an airbrush, and it functions a heck of a lot like an airbrush. The tube that goes through the main black body is the liquid. That's a nutrient solution. That's the air supply. What's going in that white portion, that quick connect tubing, is the nutrient solution. Nutrient solution goes in the top, air goes through the central body of the sprayer. Very much like an airbrush. So those tubes they're just the flexible 1/4 inch tubing that we have on everything around here, and it works fantastically. Everything is with a quick connect. Believe it or not, even in this high pressure system, all you need are simple quick connects. And water fittings. I'm using water-based reverse osmosis equipment, like tubing, this tubing here. It's not made for air, but it works great because our pressures are high, yes, but they're not that high. I mean, we're only talking about a maximum PSI in this case of about 45 pounds per square inch. So it's not a tremendous amount of air pressure, and it seems to hold fine. I have literally never had a problem with these fittings, and it holds air just fine. Now, it's not perfect. It will slow leak over a period of weeks where you'll lose your tank, but that doesn't matter because it's filling up itself automatically. Every once in a while when the pressure goes down, it'll fill itself. And that's a non-issue, but just want to tell you it's not a perfect seal. It's going to be a little bit leaky because these are plastic fittings, and it's 45 pounds per square inch, and even higher in the tank itself. The tank itself gets charged to about 80 pounds, and then I tap off about 40 pounds per square inch and deliver that to the spray head. So let's go. Well, before I move up, let me just show you this really quickly. This is the nutrient tank. There's just a simple line going into the bucket, And I have other fittings here because I'm always experimenting with different things. But there's only one line going into that in this case. And it just has another tube on the bottom of it going all the way to the bottom of the bucket where the solution is. I have about 2 gallons in there at the moment. And this goes over to, now this pump is normally mounted. I just have it sitting here, this little pump. You've seen these before. I've had these on the show. I use these pumps now for everything, but it's not attached right now because normally I don't use it on this unit. But I'm showing it today because I've now fully converted to peristaltic pumps from some older styles that I was using, and I swear by peristaltic pumps for everything. They're just amazing. So that's what this little dude is here, and that's what I'm using to feed the water from the nutrient tank up to the spray head. See it going into the pump there, and then we're going to follow this tube up. Whoops, sorry, I got to change the direction here. So there's the pump. The pump's pulling it from the nutrient tank. This line goes up to the sprayer, where it gets mixed with the 45 pounds per square inch air and shot out the end. Okay, now over here, oh boy, I'm trying to hold this microphone. Hold on a second, let me open this up. This is just a couple of timers, several timers, 3 timers to be exact. The top timer is for the nutrient solution delivery. That's set to go off every minute for 3 seconds. We'll see that it does that in a minute, literally, a minute. The middle one was for a UV sterilization system that I created that keeps the nutrient bucket clean, but I don't have that hooked up at the moment. The bottom one is for pH cycling, and we've talked about that in previous shows, but I'll show you some equipment having to do with that later. But pH cycling is its own cycle, because that can be as often or as little as you want. And let's see, we have about 20 seconds left on there. Yep. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to step back here, because when I say high pressure, I'm talking high pressure. It's going to shoot out at me here. So it's going to come out of the nozzle right here, and it's going to spray towards us in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, did you see that little delay there? That's because I had it turned off for, probably an hour before we started here. So all the water had drained back down, back into the nutrient tank. So when it first started up again just now, it had to feed that all the way up the line and all the way to the sprayer before it started coming out. Now, that also means that next time it sprays, it should be fairly consistent, should start almost immediately. If it doesn't, if you have a problem with drain back, when you're actually pumping the water from a lower point to a higher point, then you're going to want to use an anti-siphon device. It's just a little plastic gizmo that goes in line on the tubing, and it prevents the flow from going backwards. It'll only allow it to go in one direction. So here we go. It's going to go in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. You can see that was almost immediate. And the spray is very, very fine. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that you'll probably notice that there's a little bit of spitting going on as it comes out. And there's a little bit of pulsation. It almost sounds like a sound as it's coming out. That's simply because it's not tuned. I hooked this up today to do the show. I'm not regulating the air at all going to the sprayer, and I'm not regulating the water pump, the amount or the volume of nutrients going to the spray head. I'm actually pumping too much water pressure to the spray head. It's causing a little bit of an issue. Normally, I'd have a little adjustment valve on there, and that would take care of both of those issues. I'd adjust the air, and I'd adjust the nutrient solution flow down a little bit to fine-tune it and create the perfect spray. But right now, it's pretty darn good. I mean, they call it a fogger for a reason, because the spray is so fine. It's almost like fog. Check this out. It's like fog. It's amazing. And I'm so thrilled with these. So I'm going to put a link to where I purchased these. They're not inexpensive. I will say that. They're a little pricey, but boy, oh boy, they are amazing. And they're made out of ceramic, which means that they're not going to clog, they're not going to break, they're not going to wear out. They're lightweight, they're easy to work with. They have push to connect quick fittings on them for 1/4-inch tubing. And you can change that to a larger one if you wanted to, but you won't need to. And they're just amazing. Now, at one point, I was running several of these sprayers at one time. These systems can be as large as you want. That's what I'm going to get to in a second, is that this is all expandable. These parts can just be plugged in module after module after module. It's plug and play. And it's like building growing systems with Legos or something. It's amazing. So these components, whoa, almost got me. I'm ahead of you. Okay, so I lost my train of thought. Anyway, that's a high pressure spray. Now, what else do I want to say about this? High pressure. Let's see. Oh, so down here is if you remember, that's the pH regulation device. I was talking about that a couple weeks ago. I've mentioned that a few times. And that's not hooked up at the moment either. That's the pH recycling timer that I talked about up there. That controls this normally, and it has its own pump. And every 20 minutes or so, the pump will turn on, and this pH regulation device will be flooded with the nutrient solution water, and it'll just cycle for several minutes. I usually have it cycle for about 3 or 4 minutes, and that will correct any pH problems in the nutrient solution. And automatically, and the timer can be set. What's cool about I'm going to give you a chance to see the spray every chance I can. So what's cool about these timers is, they're inexpensive. We've talked about that. They're 12 volt, which means this system, technically this part of the system at least, could run off of solar if you wanted or needed to. And not the pump, not the air pump. You're going to have to figure something else out for that. But this part of it can be run on solar. And that was actually originally part of the design intent, was to make this all off-grid if possible. So that's what we're working towards. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting pretty close. So this is neat. This is just a simple, straightforward way to go. So in your case, if you now I'm just going to go back over here and sit for a second. I'm going to detangle myself. Oh, jeez. Hold on one second. Okay. So, and I'm going to go back there in a second. We're going to test out some other spray heads. Whoa. You know what? I should probably turn off that timer for a second. Let me just run over there. All right. Yeah, that's a good idea, because everything over there is getting wet. So that's not cool. Oh, my light. All right. Watch. The next thing will happen, the light will fall down and just the whole thing will be over. Okay, nobody's chatting. Well, okay, that's okay. I'm going to go back over there in a second here. We're going to test out a couple more things that are having to do with a low pressure system. Now, what are some advantages of the high pressure and the low pressure? Let me just go over that really quick before we even jump over there to the demo area. So the real magic of high pressure aeroponics, well, now let me start simpler than that. Obviously, in both cases, low pressure and high pressure, you're delivering nutrient solution to the roots through a spray mechanism. That's pretty much the most basic definition. Now, beyond delivering to the roots is how you're delivering it to the roots, because there is a huge difference, it appears, anyway, at the moment, from the research that's being done, between the speed of growth, potentially, not always, but if everything else is equal and everything is accounted for, the speed at which you can grow with aeroponics is faster. And it's thought at this time that the reason for that is because, imagine this if you will, inside of that root chamber, as the roots are growing, they want to go anywhere that there's nutrient solution. So if it's over in that corner of the bucket, they're going to reach for it. If they can get to it at all, they're going to get to it. If all that spray is just falling right to the bottom of the bucket and that's where it's more easier to get it, they're going to go down there and get it because the spray pattern's bad and the droplets fall right away and it all collects on the bottom. That's where they're going to go. If, however, you can deliver that spray in an intense way using a combination of air pressure and water pressure, just a little bit of water pressure, not too much, and you can fine tune that the way we were looking at it over there with the nozzle, with the high pressure sprayer, then you can deliver spray droplet sizes so small that the roots of the plant are able to uptake them without any resistance whatsoever. It's because there are little openings in the roots. It's complicated to describe it, but the way roots take in the water is through a capillary action. And if the particles are too big, if the droplets are too big, if any part of this, the nutrients or the droplets or whatever are too big, they can't enter the roots. But the smaller everything is, the more efficient the roots can take it up. Here's the other thing. If they can take up these tiny little particles, that means that the plant can now produce the absolutely finest root hairs you can imagine. And those root hairs, the plant knows, are going to be effective at taking up that really small particle size nutrient solution. So what happens is, when you introduce a high power spray that fills the entire root ball, the entire root zone, grow zone, with a fine, misty, foggy spray of nutrient solution, the roots go absolutely everywhere inside of that container. They don't preferentially go to the bottom or do anything else crazy. They will just go everywhere because there's so much spray available, which means there's more nutrients available, which means if they have more roots, they can get more of that nutrient solution and they can outcompete their other plants. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to survive. They're trying to move on, right? So they want to get as much as they can, grow as fast as they can. And if they can get it, if you can provide them with that level of nutrient solution in that form, in that small particle and droplet size form, your plants will grow very fast. And this is what NASA's doing. They want to use I'm assuming it's still being chosen, high power aeroponics to grow food for space missions, because as you can imagine, in space you need to grow really quickly. There's not a lot of time to wait for food if you got hungry astronauts on board waiting to eat. So you need to turn that over very quickly. And Aeroponics has been, really it was NASA who put this on the map, so to speak. They did a lot of the hardcore research and figured out that this is the way to grow if you want to grow in space. So we're doing the same thing, but we're doing it right here on Earth, here on terra firma. So that's the thing about the high pressure aeroponics. Now, does that mean that low pressure is no good? Absolutely not. Low pressure is great. Low pressure works fantastically for almost everything. And the only drawback is that, the primary drawback is that you won't get that speed, obviously, because your droplet size is bigger. Your roots are not going to be in the absolute most ideal environment possible, because the droplet sizes are a bit large. But you know what, at that point, for most growing that most people are doing, in my opinion, it's splitting hairs. Low pressure will work for just about everything. High pressure is amazing, and I have seen incredible results with high pressure aeroponics right here, right next to me here, 6 feet away from me. OMG results. And I attribute that, obviously I have to the smaller droplet size, the higher pressure, the increased optimization. Oh, yes. One other thing I want to mention about this high pressure system is, normally over here in the systems that I've built anyway, for the last about 8 months, 9 months or so, I've also been including a fan, a tiny little, 20 millimeter? No, I think it's 40 millimeter fan, like you would use maybe on a computer or in a power supply, very small fan. And this small fan is 12 volts, It's almost silent, and it mounts on the top of the root zone of the grow chamber, on the top of it. And what happens is, it seems, I don't have any science behind it. I can only give you anecdotal evidence of how it worked for me, and it worked amazing, but I don't have much data on it. And that is what happens is, so as you saw, the timer will set off the spray. It will spray the nutrient solution. But then in the system, the way I had it set up a while back, after the spray is done spraying, a little fan turns on and starts drying the roots. So it provides aeration, and then the air is allowed to escape through vents on the top of the lid, on the grow chamber lid. So spray, and then turn on the fan, circulates it, dries the roots, air exits out the top, and there's something, and this is my assertion. It's just it's a scientific guess, is that I think what's happening is the introduction of air and actually more quickly drying those roots and then quickly replacing the nutrient solution creates a kind of, I don't even know what to call it, kind of either an ebb and flow pattern to the feeding, or maybe it's that it creates a higher stress level in the roots, and that makes the roots grow more because of the moving air. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I haven't done enough experimenting to say why it works, but it definitely seems to work. So I'm going to show you, I don't have it hooked up for today, but I'm going to show you at some point what I'm talking about with that fan. And it's super simple, because all you're doing is, see, those timers have a normally open state and a normally closed state, each one of them. So normally when we're turning on a pump, it's turned on and running when the timer is in the normally closed state. But if you hook up, let's say, a small electric fan to the normally open state, then it will continue to aerate the roots until it's time to spray, at which point it'll flip over, spray, and then flip back and start aerating again. It's as simple as that. So I'll show you that. I didn't hook it up for today. So it does seem to be that constant patterning, that ebb and flow, that dry cycle, wet cycle, small particle size definitely has an advantage. But now, let me show you the spray pattern produced by a normal spray head being used on a normal peristaltic pump, and we'll look at it in the light over there so you can see what it actually looks like. All right, let's switch back over. Okay. And if you hear somebody fall down and things crashing, that's me and everything being destroyed on the way down. But let's try not to make that happen. Okay. Let me just try to remember, oh jeez, how all this plugs together. Okay, there we go. Okay. So, let's switch this. Nope, wrong one. There we go. That's the wrong. Hello? What's happening? What's happening? Seems my oh, duh. My camera's right here. Okay, give me a second. I need to hook up the iPhone back up to the tripod and put the microphone down. I'll be right back. Right now we should have it. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so turn the light around. Oh wow, this is actually working pretty well. Okay, surprise, surprise. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, oops, let me turn the monitor around so I can see myself and how terrible I'm doing. Okay, do that there. All right, now I can see how out of focus I am. Cool. Good. Okay, so what we have here is, I probably should have shown this to you on the other camera. That's okay, I'll do this. So what we have here is one of these, let's see, over here, quick connect connectors that's made to fit a single spray head, a tiny little, in this case it's a 180-degree green, you can see it's green spray nozzle. I meant to say nozzle. And then on the end here, right there is a 1/4-inch plug. That's simply to plug the end so nothing can come out. So everything that comes through this tube is going to come out of that spray nozzle. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook the other end of this tube up to a pump, a peristaltic pump like we've seen before on the show. And then we're going to see how much spray we can get out of that. And we're going to look at it on camera so you can really see it. I'm going to put the mic down for a sec. Whoop. Okay, back in business. So what we have here, and I'm just going to run this manually in a second here so you can see it, but I used the pump that I had hooked up to this big system here, and I'm just hijacking it for this demonstration. Normally it would not be running this type of sprayer, it would be running to the high pressure sprayer, but right now I'm using it to run to the low pressure sprayer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it up here. I'm going to set up the camera a little differently, and I'm going to put it up here, and then we'll take a look at the spray pattern, and we'll see how dramatically different it is from the high pressure. I hope you can remember what the high pressure one looked like, because I can't hook that up quickly right now, but here we go. Let me reset up the camera. Okay. Okay. That mic still works because I just yanked the cord out with great reckless abandon. Okay, so you remember what the high pressure spray looked like. Now what I'm going to do is turn this back on so I have a power supply. And then I'm going to hold this up, and then I'm going to hit the little button, and it's going to spray. I'm going to have to do this manually. Okay, I'm going to put the mic down, and here we go. What did I just do? Okay. No, what's going on? Okay. Huh? Wait. Oh, that's what was left. Okay. Sorry, bear with me here. I had this reversed. I didn't look before I did this. Yep, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. That was me just screwing that up. So what we have to do now is I'm just going to go back here, and then I'm going to spray again. So I want you to just keep an eye on the spray nozzle and watch the spray pattern coming out. See that? I mean, it's a whoops. Yeah, I didn't have a. Whoops. Yeah, I didn't have a lock on there. I didn't have a lock on the tube, so it shot right out. These pumps are pretty powerful. So as you can see, there's not much to look at there because the spray is much larger. The droplets are much larger. They don't show up as well on camera because they're larger. So if you get that really fine, misty, foggy spray, it shows up very well on camera, as you saw earlier. But this, not so much. But still, remember, low pressure is absolutely fine for just about every type of indoor growing. It's just not quite as fast. Okay, so that was a 180-degree spray. I'm going to do it one more time. Okay. Hopefully you got something out of that, because I'm getting really wet and so is everything else. So I got to not do that too much more. But now I'm going to hook up, let's see, the high pressure again, so you can now take a look at that one more time. Okay, now I'm going to turn this. Oh, we are turned on now. Okay, so in 18 seconds, this is going to spray again. Actually, I'm going to turn the. Nah, I'm not going to turn. Well, I'm going to turn the pump on for a second. And then we'll check out the spray. Here we go. So, yeah. I mean, clearly, like, that spray is just, that's crazy. So you can see how that inside of a 5-gallon bucket or something similar, that would absolutely fill the root chamber with fog, as they call it, or very fine mist. Very, very, very fine mist. Okay? So that's high pressure. And just imagine this spray head, where this would normally be, would be inside of a 5-gallon grow bucket. So this would be at the very top where the roots come in, and this would be aimed more or less directly down towards the bottom of the bucket. And then as it's sprayed, it just fills that volume completely, and that's what creates that amazing effect. Yes, one more time. High pressure Aeroponics. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. Okay, now, as for low pressure Aeroponics, I've got something I think you're gonna like. All right, so in the last few weeks, if you've been tuning in, you know that I had this system that I showed in the videos. It was I called it a couple different things. It's now actually officially called the Hang 10, with a little unit that hangs on the side of the bucket. It's got the timers on it, and it's a low pressure system. It's made for growing heavy fruiting plants, tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, cannabis, stuff like that. And it's a fully self-contained low pressure system. Well, I'm happy to announce that is now available for sale. With that being said, it's a partially assembled kit, okay? And what I'm going to show you right now is that kit. And what I'm going to do, let's see, let me use this light. I'm going to move a couple things here. Just need to get a light set up. And then I'm going to grab the iPhone again. Give me 1 second. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting for the first time ever, the Aero-Gro Hang 10. Yeah, that's it. This is the Aero-Gro Hang 10. It is complete. It has had a slight redesign. I made it a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact. Added some funky fun graphics to it. Put on the QR codes, so you can find out how to program these things. Super easy. It's just 2 buttons to reprogram. So the top timer is for the nutrient solution delivery, the spray. And the bottom is to pick up the nutrient solution from the grow chamber and return it to the nutrient tank over here, right? So the 2 buckets work together. In the right-hand bucket, you have your nutrient solution, right? In the left-hand bucket, you have your grow chamber with your roots inside and your plant growing up right there. So that is how that works. And this, obviously because it's a 5-gallon bucket, it allows for a very large plant to grow, as tall as you want, as big as you want. And yeah, that's the way to do it. It's called the Hang 10 for this reason, because of the way it hangs off of the edge of the bucket. Hang 10 in surfer language is when you're surfing a wave and you get to the very front of the surfboard and you curl your toes over the front of the surfboard. That's called a Hang 10. And it just kind of, the way it hangs here, just kind of reminded me of hanging your toes over the edge of a surfboard. I don't know why, it just did. So I thought that would be a fun name. But this is the Hang 10. It's available right now off the website. I haven't even built much of a page for it yet because I've already got some orders for it. I'm already producing these. I was originally supposed to release it on July 15th, but a couple orders came through and I just decided let's start building. Let's start getting it out. So for my one customer, Avi, if you're watching right now, this is identical to the unit you're about to receive. And yeah, I'm sure it's going to work really well. I've been testing these for a while now. They seem to work great. So let's take a look really quick in here. Right inside here is the spray nozzle and the root zone. I'm going to put the mic down. All right. And that's a very young plant. I just pulled a plant from over there and brought it over here. That's why the roots are so small yet. I just cut them like an hour ago. But this one I'm going to allow to grow. I'm going to continue to grow this, and we're going to monitor it over the next couple weeks and see how it's doing. So that's how that works, and that is now available. So that's all there is to it. Now, when you receive this, what you get is the buckets, all the 3D printed bits and pieces, including the frame that's 3D printed, the 3D printed plant holder, the quick connects, the tubing, everything you see here is included as part of that. And the 2 pumps, 2 of the peristaltic pumps we looked at earlier, 2 timers, and the power supply, of course. And I am in the process of doing a instruction video for these. It's not done yet, but for those who are purchasing this relatively soon, I will have the video up very soon. In the next couple of days, I'll have at least a rough version of the setup video. But it's super easy. I mean, it literally takes 5 minutes and it's set up and ready to go. So very happy about that. Very happy to announce that. In addition to that, let's see. We've got some hot peppers coming in. Well, I can't quite reach over there today. We've got some more hot peppers on another plant here. Oh, man, some of those are beauts, too. We've got some orange about to turn red. We've got some minis. Oh, they're so great. More tomatoes. These tomatoes are coming in, the micro toms. Oh boy, micro toms are so amazing. Peppers, 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 and lots of young plants coming in. I'm not even going to go through all those right now. I've taken enough of your time. Red basil is really beautiful. Yeah, Sakura tomatoes coming in. They're banging. They're amazing. They're going to take over the house. I'm sure they're just going to eat me one night while I'm asleep, because these suckers are huge when they get going. But anyway, that's about all I have. That's about all I have for tonight. Whew. Wow. Oh, my light. Hold on. Someday I'm going to have the studio all figured out, and by then I'll have nothing left to say. But for tonight, I hope that something I've said here has been helpful. Again, my name is Andrew Woodward, and I own this company called Aero-Gro. I'm just trying to help people to grow indoors, whatever it is they're trying to grow. And I want to thank you for joining me tonight. This is really exciting to show off some high-pressure aeroponics. It's one of my favorite things. So until next week, I will hope that you go and grow something amazing. Please leave me some comments. Please leave me a like and subscribe if you were at all enamored with any of this information or helped by any of it. And I just want to thank you for being here. And I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.